Very quick discussion on the real exchange rate. I know I've talked about real being the idea of stripping away inflation typically. In this case, see it a little bit differently. See it as how we could kind of really compare the value of the purchasing power that we have in one country relative to another. So what do we mean by this? Well, really, it's the rate at which a person can trade goods and services of one country for the goods and services of another. An example will help understand it, but essentially, it's taking that nominal exchange rate that we had before with the small e, so that situation that we had before, times the domestic price over the foreign price of that specific good. So here, this real exchange rate is for a specific good. Okay, whereas the nominal exchange rate applies to every time you want to switch the currency. Real exchange rate is for a specific good. So let's see an example here. So the nominal exchange rate is 4 rubles per dollar, and a bushel of wheat is $200 in Canada and 1,600 rubles in Russia. So here we want to make sure that we're kind of canceling out the rubles. So here it's the rubles per dollar, so rubles would be the denominator, and down here denominator, so these cancel out. Per dollar, so this is denominator times here we have the dollar sign at the numerator, so these two cancel out. So you have 4 times 200 is 800 divided by 1,600, you have 1/2. So essentially the real exchange rate tells us that you can get half a bushel of Russian wheat per bushel of Canadian wheat. So this tells us that if you have the same amount of money and you go travel abroad, you're going to be able to get half of what you can get here. You could ask yourself the same thing for beer or anything else. So let's say you say that you have beer, here is for a certain Dos Equis beer is like $5 at the bar. And you go to Mexico, and in Mexico, that same Dos Equis beer is, let's say, keep it simple, 30 pesos. Well, okay, you know how much it is here, you know how much it is there, and then you don't really know where it's more expensive. But then if I tell you, okay, 1 Canadian dollar gets you access to 10 pesos, well, then you could kind of convert it all. So you'd have this situation where it's $5 times 10, because it's 10 pesos per dollar, over 30, so it'd be 5/3. So in Mexico, we could get 5/3 more beer than here for the same amount of money, because here it's $5, over there it's the equivalent of $3, so we could get 5/3 more than we can get here. If we have let's say $15 over there, we could get 5 beers, and over here we could get only 3 beers. So it's just an easy way to compare the price of different goods. And this comparison of prices is going to help us in this next concept of purchasing power parity to understand how money flows. Typically, if you're like between two countries and it's really easy to trade, well, obviously, if it's cheaper to buy from there, you'd have a lot more people going to Mexico to get their beer. But we'll see that trading can be complicated sometimes, but when it's not, you'd be flowing towards where it's cheaper. So that's the real exchange rate to help you understand that. And we're going to go through the purchasing power parity next.